Hello and welcome to Reaching for the Moon, presented by Everglades Moon Local Council, Florida chapter of Covenant of the Goddess. COG supports individual works by its covens, members, and local councils. It's a vibrant network of a myriad of Wiccan and witchy resources, religious support, friendships, service opportunities, and more. To find out more, visit our website, emlc.net, our Facebook page, facebook.com/EvergladesMoon, or Twitter, @EMLCTweets.
Hello everyone, this is Lady Bridget, and welcome to episode 35, Mabon, 2017, or the Fall Equinox, or the Autumnal Equinox. However you say it, however you celebrate it, it is fall in the Northern Hemisphere, it is spring in the Southern Hemisphere, and we're both celebrating the day of the equinox, when day and night are equal. I'm going to talk a little bit about weatherworking, and also I'd like to present a workshop to you that was offered by Jette at Equinox in the Oaks 2017. The workshop is called Eye of the Hurricane, Staying Grounded and Centered in a Chaotic World, and it seemed quite appropriate. That's what's been in the news lately, and that's the weather that we've been having lately. And even though I do try to keep the podcast timely, it just was too coincidental to pass up. I love serendipity, and so you're going to get the Mabon Serendipitous podcast. So I'll start with my segment, and of course we will have music, and I'll introduce the music as it occurs. I do want to make a note about the workshop. We do our workshops outside for the most part, and so they are subject to plane noises, train noises, rustling feet, rustling leaves, pagan drums off in the distance. You may hear all of these things during the workshop. I do my best to edit out the majority of them, so a little patience, a little perseverance. You might want to listen to parts of it with earbuds. I don't know if that would be helpful, but at any rate, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a heads up about that, and I hope you enjoy it anyway. I thought that the workshop was wonderful and totally worth bringing to you. Enjoy. Welcome back to the program. This is Lady Bridget again. Seeing as how we just had a hurricane, and not just one, but two, because our witchy kin in Texas were hit with Harvey, and our witchy kin in Florida, including myself and my family, were hit with Irma. It seems like it's an appropriate time to talk about weatherworking. And I thought it was important to talk about weatherworking, because one of the things that we run into a lot, especially living in Florida or living in other areas where you are prone to storms, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, blizzards, you name it. I mean, wherever we live, we're prone to having some kind of weather event in or around our home. And we often get the question, well, what do you do? And you've heard the term weatherworking, I'm sure. A lot of witches do practice some form of weatherworking. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive, do-it-yourself article on weatherworking. That's not what this is about. I just wanted to have a quick, short discussion about what we do, and some of the ideas and concepts behind what we do. So, our philosophy is that weather is part of the climate. And as we can see, when man messes with the climate, it does not turn out well. So we try to do as little interference with the weather as possible. Now, when I say our philosophy, I'm talking about my tradition, my coven, my friends, more or less. Most of us, this is our philosophy. Weather has to happen, right? Everything needs to have water. Hurricanes even are a large part of weather and a natural occurrence. So anything that's a natural occurrence, we have to assume that it needs to happen for some reason. We may not know what the reason is, but you know what? We don't know everything. We really can't walk around acting like we do. So instead of trying to control the weather, that is not our desired outcome. Our desired outcome is basically just to protect ourselves from it. Just as you would wear a raincoat and a rain hat and use an umbrella when you walk outside in a rainstorm, when the weather gets really bad, we just use a little protection spells to keep us, our family, and our property as safe as we possibly can. So you can't really eliminate the weather, but sometimes you can move it slightly. Now, when it's a small storm, a small rain shower, we've been known to talk to the rain spirits and just ask them to hold off a little while and wait until after whatever we're doing is finished. And oftentimes that works pretty well. When I'm trying to get out of the car and just come back from the grocery store and I have to bring all my groceries in the house, and of course it wasn't raining when I left, but when I get home, it's raining now, and sometimes I'll just sit in the car and wait for a lull and ask the rain spirits to please give me 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so that I can get my groceries in without getting soaked. And I will just wait for that to happen. And usually within a few minutes, it does. And I get the groceries in, and then I say thank you, and I let it go, and the rain comes back down. And it works. It really does. But you have to have a rapport. You have to talk to the rain spirits. You have to talk to the water. You have to talk to the sky and the clouds and develop a kind of relationship with them. So, you're grateful for the rain. It's not like you're hating on it or you don't want it to be there. It's necessary. So give it some love and appreciation. And then when you need it to hold off for a little while, or you need it to slow down for a little while, you're much more likely to get results. However, rain and hurricane are two different things. So I'm going to move on to hurricane. And in this case, some witches will tell me that they move the hurricane. They want to blow it out to sea. Well, I'm okay with that. But when you start blowing it away from you, but blowing it towards other people, that I'm not so okay with. Because I know wherever that eye passes, there's going to be some destruction. People are going to end up being homeless. People are going to end up losing property. And some people may end up losing their lives. That kind of karma, I don't really need. So I don't say it's okay to move the hurricane to someone else's yard, because that's not kosher with me. That's not okay. But on the other hand, if you can move it safely out to sea, I'm okay with giving it a little push. If the winds look like it can go out to sea, I'm okay with giving it a little push and helping it out in the direction that it already can go. But when it says no, there's no way that it's just coming towards me, then I use the bubble technique, and I bubble everybody's house that I care about, my own property, plus friends and family. And the way I do this is that I draw in my mind's eye a line around their property. And if I have a picture of their property, that's even better, because then it doesn't have to be in my mind. I can print the picture out and I can draw that line around the property. And I can also visualize that the bubble extends below the ground and above the ground, so that everything is protected, including pipes and underground electric or whatever. Then I use my breath and I blow into it and I inflate that bubble so that it's nice and full and tight. And I build that as a protective shield around the property so that the property, the people in it, stay safe. This has been pretty effective so far. I'm not going to say that it's always 100% effective, because it really depends on the ferocity of the storm, where the storm hits, and so forth. You can only do so much, and then you have to prepare in your mundane physical lives just as you normally would. Don't ever rely on magic to do it all for you, because it may not. There's so many variables. You do everything. Magic is another tool in your toolbox. Hurricane shutters are a tool in your toolbox. I use both. I don't think there's anything wrong with using both. And I also ask for help, higher help, like from the gods and goddesses. Any gods and goddesses that I work with, any gods and goddesses that I might associate with this particular storm or with this particular weather event. I have no problem with asking for higher help, because you know what? They're willing to give it. I'm willing to take it. And some of my friends also shared a knife working, which we also used, where you take a kitchen knife and you plunge it into the corner with the blade facing the oncoming storm. And you plunge it into your property, and you ask the spirits of the storm to go around the blade and to spare your property. And if you're not sure where the storm's coming from, or in the event of a hurricane where you have winds coming from all directions and tornadoes, you can put one in each corner. I've also seen this spell used with a sword. Different people have posted different things. And of course, up to the event, a lot of people were posting a lot of different weather workings that they've tried or that have been passed down in their family. So this is not an extensive list. This is just a few suggestions of ways that you can use to either move weather, ask it to hold off a little while, or protect yourself from it. But it seemed like it was a timely topic. Hope it's helpful for you. Blessed be. Next up, a song by Mama Gina called Eagle and the Owl from her album I Remember Love. You can learn more about Mama Gina and purchase her music at mamaginamusic.com.
Beaks are sharp, bones are hollow. Dance the eagle, dance the owl. One by daylight, one by stars. Dance the eagle, dance the owl. Feathered cloak, feather light. Dance the wings and dance the flight. Drape yourself in all that flies and watch the goddess in you rise. The sky is high, the sun he sings, his light upon her outstretched wings. Eagle climbs upon the air, then rides the currents she finds there. Feather cloak, feather light, dance the wings and dance the flight. Drape yourself in all that flies and watch the goddess in you rise. Moon shines bright, reflects her song. Wisdom shadow sweeps along. Owl is patient, sees her chance, swoops in for the killing dance. Feather cloak, feather light, dance the wings and dance the flight. Drape yourself in all that flies and watch the goddess in you rise. Beaks are sharp, bones are hollow. Dance the eagle, dance the owl. One by daylight, one by stars. Dance the eagle, dance the owl. In light, drape yourself in all that flies and watch the goddess in you rise. Dance the eagle, dance the owl. Dance the eagle, dance the owl.
I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I think I know most of you. Those that I don't know, let me give you a short introduction. Can everybody hear me okay? Because I can always move my chair. I think there might be two of you. My name is Myra. Sometimes I'll respond to Jette. Most of the times I'll respond to anything nice. So, you know, maybe. Anyway, I've been pagan, identified as pagan for 20-something-ish, years, since 91 maybe. I started off in a more traditional Wiccan setting. I've been outer court Gardnerian, and done a few other things, been in a couple of eclectic covens. I organize a couple of online groups, and my practice currently is more devotional. I'm a devotional polytheist, and it's most of the work that I do. Also, I did a lot of healing work when I first got started. I spent a good 10 years doing a lot of energy work and healing work. This, for me, was a great learning experience because I learned about energy and about sensing things and about how to push and pull things. And it was a great way to start off and really get tuned in and get sensitive about things. So that base translated to a bunch of other things that I do, and I believe it's made me a lot better at subtleties of things, doing that kind of work. So what this workshop is about, I call it the Eye of the Hurricane because I'm a Florida girl. And anyone who's ever been in a hurricane or had experiences with a hurricane, the temptation to go out during the eye is very hard to resist. And I've done that. And I've walked outside during the eye of a hurricane. And what happens is the most amazing thing. There's a stillness and a quiet that's amazing. You can feel electric energy all around you. You can feel the energy of the storm. You can smell it in the air. But there's complete stillness. There's barely a breeze. It's an amazing experience. This is what I hope to help you find when it comes to magical and energy work. I've had the privilege and the honor to be in all sorts of rituals and participate and help in very many different kinds of things. And one of the things that I found that happened to me many times was that I wound up doing what I call triage, right? My spiritual triage, which is a totally different workshop. But I've had to help other people ground. I've had to help other people get back to themselves. I have had to help people that were overwhelmed and that were in a bad situation. And when you're doing ritual work and you're in the middle of it, to have to shift gears and tend to someone else isn't fun. I'll do it in a heartbeat, but it's a little bit difficult, and I thought it was important to help other people find that way and get themselves in a way where they feel comfortable and they feel safe. So I have somewhat of an outline here. I'm gonna try to stick to it, but if at any point anybody has questions or you want to discuss something a little bit more, please feel free to step in, because like I said, there's a small group so we can do this. So I put things into 3 categories: grounding, centering, and shielding. Well, actually, the very first thing I want to do is I just want everybody to take a breath with me. All of a sudden your awareness has changed. Everything to me begins with breathing. If I'm stressed, I stop and I breathe with intent. I bring my attention and my awareness to myself and I take a breath. It's to me, it's just the very basic beginning of anything. Clears your head, clears your, space. It just makes you bring your awareness when you feel scattered in any sense, not just energetic or magical sense, but in any kind of sense. To me, when I'm not sure, I get stressed, whatever, the first thing I do is take a breath. I'm like, well, I usually talk to myself, so I'm like, okay, take a breath, calm down, what's going on, assess. Okay, now we can move forward, and we take a step from here. So I always like to start everybody kind of on that space so that we're kind of in the same zone. So grounding, centering, and shielding. I like to define terms because when I say that, it may be different than when Debbie says that, right? Or when Odie says that, or when you read it in a book. And I've read a lot of books that don't give you an explanation. Ground, center, and then you're going to do a thing. I'm like, okay, well, what does this ground center business mean? I don't know. And I've had friends that have been in ritual. I've had friends that have held space and have done aspecting, and they're like, I don't understand. What does it mean when they say, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay, I'm gonna hold on, let me catch a breath, because I'm gonna have a moment here. Like, how did somebody think it was okay to put you in a space to hold this much energy, this much importance, and not have you know and feel confident and trained that you can, you don't even understand, it's not on them. It's that concept of these are very basic things that never get explained, or rarely get explained. I should say that they do get explained, but not often. And so I wanted to get very basic about these kind of things. When I say centering, and to me, this is, it also depends on you personally and which are the things that you tend to do more naturally versus the ones you have to do with more awareness. So for me, centering is the most important thing and crucial. In addition to all the healing work that I used to do, and I still do a little bit, but that's not my main practice. I'm also a channel and a seer and other stuff. And so it's very important for me to know the difference between myself and other. And if I can't center and know where my boundaries are, how am I going to tell when it's me or something else affecting me, influencing me? Especially if you're a person that's empathic, it can be overwhelming being around people. So I think it's very important to understand what it means to center. So the very first thing I like to do is center. And that what that means is you bring your awareness to yourself. I do that through breathing. And it's just very, very simple, basic. You take a few breaths and you bring your awareness to yourself. Where's your boundary? I usually start in the center because I feel that's a good place. Everybody's energy center, not everybody, but many people, their energy center is not, it can be in different places. My energy center moves. That's not common. Most people, their energy center is in the same place all the time. There are a lot of people that their energy center is in their heart or in their solar plexus. Some people it sits lower, very grounded people. There are people that sit very high. I'm usually pretty good at finding where those sit in people. Again, with the healing work and energy work that I did, that's one of the things I like to do. And people don't always know where their own energy centers are. So until I find it, and I'm like, your center is right here. And they're like, oh, I feel that. And I'm like, that's where you bring your awareness to, right? You bring your awareness to this place. For me, it changes, so I tend to be more central. I try to pull it in and move it more central because, like I said, mine shifts a little bit sometimes. So that's the very first thing that I feel like we want to focus on, right, is centering. Is everybody familiar with that? And is this something that people do regularly?
No.
You don't?
Interestingly, in our practice that part of centering also means, especially if you're going to meditate or something, also means literally sitting up straight, having your spine straight, your head, level, just comfortable, relaxed, but alert, if that makes sense.
Right, and
just
and
literally being straight.
You bring an important point, is that people are different. Some people are more physical, visceral. Some people are more ritualized, where they need a process to help them get to where they're going. And other people are more, visual or in their heads. So it helps to do a physical thing that relates to it. Also, when developing a practice, for me, meditation was incredibly difficult. It took me years. I'm very, very stubborn. And I fought to learn how to do it because it was a thing that I needed to do. But it was very, very difficult. It took me many years of practice of trying different techniques to be able to meditate or get into an altered state. So I would do different things to help trigger that. I'd set up incense. I'd put the lighting a certain way. I'd start with certain music. And so this became like a process, a pattern that I would do to help trigger me to get into that point until I didn't need these other things. I could eliminate them one by one to get to that place. The other thing is grounding. So what grounding means? To me, grounding has two functions. One, it's a connection, right? It's the way to keep yourself connected to where you are. So it's that awareness that your body is in this space. And it brings you to where you are, and it keeps you from kind of floating too far or going down too deep. The other part of grounding is to shed excess whatever. Excess energy, excess information, whatever it is that is happening around you, to shed it so that you're not having to hold everything. I kind of skipped over a couple of things, so let me backtrack for a second. And that's why is this important? Why are we having this conversation? Why does anybody care about these things? And what is it that I'm talking about? Well, what I'm referring to is mostly in a magical or spiritual setting, but it's that moment, and I don't know if all of you have had this experience, but at the very least, I'm sure you've seen someone that has had this experience, where they may feel dizzy, they may feel overwhelmed during a ritual or during any kind of magical work. spiritual work. Even sometimes it's just having certain conversations, or even being around certain people that are very high energy, or, very open with their space. I have a term. It's a very technical term. It's what I call sloppiness. And sometimes people inadvertently are sloppy with their energy. They don't mean to, but they feel so excited about things that they don't always have their own awareness about where their personal boundaries are. And so their stuff kind of spills out. Or when people are very, something happens and they can't help it and everything kind of spills out, and this can touch you, it can affect you, and it can hit you almost like a wave. Going to places that are highly emotional, like, funerals are very difficult. For me, actually, being around people that I know, is different than being around strangers. I can usually deal with strangers a little bit better, but when it's acquaintances, that's usually the most dangerous place for me. Especially funerals, yes, but, being around a bunch of people that I know that have been drinking and are laughing and being very loud, all of their feelings are flying everywhere, and I'm drowning. I'm choking on it. I have to step away. I'm like, I love you, but you're killing me. I have to say, I feel like I'm choking on it, on all this joy and all this exuberance that's pouring out of them. I can't breathe. I'm like, whoa, I love you, but I can't. You're killing me. So these are some of the reasons why these things are important. As you develop, change, travel, do different things, your awareness of things and how people affect you changes. And also environment, so it's important, I feel, to know how to take care of yourself. It's very basic kind of defense, in a sense, kind of thing. I'm making sense so far? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, bless you. I just want to give a better explanation of why we're sitting here and having this conversation. So, centering, grounding, and shielding. Yay! So, are any of these things people that have had problems with? You struggle with which part? The shielding?
Trying to do, not knowing exactly what I'm doing, but trying to do it anyway.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? You guys are pretty good.
Trying to actually intentionally center. In stressful situations.
Yes.
Traumatic situations, or even just when my mind is doing that. Right. Flying free willy-nilly.
Right. So, and that's a really good point. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because what I feel is important, and this just takes practice, is that you create muscle memory. In the same way that if you watch martial artists, they've done the same movements so many times that no matter what happens, you can throw a ball at them, they can walk into a bar fight, whatever happens, their body reacts. So in a sense, you want to create a muscle memory of these actions. So you do the centering every day. Take a couple of minutes. It does not take long. When you're sitting in your car before you go into work, or when you're leaving work, you take a minute. I've created all kinds of little rituals that help me change space. My apartment is my sanctuary. I wanted it to be my sanctuary. I reinforce it constantly, and I tell that space what it's supposed to be. When I get home, I take the bus. So when I get home, I go to my porch, and I sit. And I take a couple of minutes before I go into my home, because I'm purposely shifting gears. And if I don't have that time, I've already trained myself that by the time I get to that door and I unlock it, my headspace is different. And the things that come with me are different. So it becomes a habit, so that when you're in an emergency situation, it doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks. But in an emergency situation, you can still react and you can still do things. It doesn't, because that's how you learn. That's how I learned. I learned a lot of times, and what I'm telling you, what I share with you, is not stuff that I've read in books. This is stuff that I learned the hard way. I learned from having to do it because nobody else could. Nobody knew how. There wasn't anybody to help me, or somebody needed help and it had to be done. Everybody was standing around going, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I don't know either, but I'm going to figure it out right now. That's how we're just going to do this. We don't get to, it has to get done. So let's just, do it, because that's just my personal, exactly, and that's how you learn a lot of things, is through experience, through practical work. So we can have yes.
Well, I wanted to share, in order to ground and center, when things get overwhelming, in addition to breathing, I always found that a quick physical movement would help. It helped me to trigger, so I would just and bring it down.
Yes.
And that's it. And that one little thing can completely shift your energy. And it's just so quick, so easy. You can do it in the middle of a crowded room. Even your fellow coworkers will not think you're strange because they're like, oh, she's calming down. and
right.
that can be a good thing. But just find yourself a little movement that works for you. It's yours. It's your personal thing. It's not something that someone else can give you like a mantra and say, here, this will work.
Right.
Just find your own, and then just use it. Use it consistently, and it will work, and it will work instantly.
Right. And you bring a good point also, which is it's okay to have things that help you serve as a trigger. If you have a pendant, a piece of jewelry, a gemstone, or an image, something that you carry with you that you can kind of create that connection. So it becomes like an automatic connection. Key. Yes, like a key, exactly. I love keys. So I'm going to go like kind of through the general things, and then we can kind of get into more. This is why I like to leave this one flexible, is because if there's anything that y'all want to work on, we can do that. Right? So I'm just kind of giving you a general discussion, and then we can get into specifics. And especially, I actually like when this class is small, because then we can really get into like doing stuff. Because I'm a doer. I'm not theoretical. I'm practical. If it doesn't work, I don't want it. And it's not grabbing here and there. I've explored and researched and stuff, but I also want things that work. I don't need to go through this whole convoluted thing. I want the things that work, because this is real world. This is real world. Because it may not be super tangible and you can't see it, but you can feel it, and it's real. That when you feel dizzy, when you feel overwhelmed, when you're like, I've seen people hit the ground. When these things happen, it's real. It's very real. When you have, I love that Lady B, I heard the term from her the first time, which I absolutely adore, which is a circle scramble, right? When the next day you feel like super hungover and, something went wrong in the process. So, I just want to give you a little bit of overview, and then we can tap a little bit more into each one. And I'm sure I missed, there's just so many things. One of the things I had on here was that about physical activities. So different things that help you ground. Physical activity is one of them. Like you mentioned it was centering, but it works with grounding. There are many people ground in earth, and so you're kind of taught, if you go that route through any kind of teachings, that you ground in earth, touch the ground, and it makes you ground and connect. I've seen variations of the visualization where you're a tree, right? Your roots are rooted deep, so before you do things, you ground so that you're connected. And you shed excess energy in that process, and you're this tree. When I did energy work a lot, like a lot of healing work in between different people that I was seeing, what I would do is wash my hands or touch metal, like touch the faucet, stuff like a physical contact to help you release that. When it comes to grounding, I run into a couple of interesting things. I'm generally an earthy person. I'm a Taurus rising, Taurus sun sign. But not everyone connects the same way, and not everybody connects in earth. And when you force yourself to do that, it's very ineffective. It doesn't work, right? That's like having a food allergy and eating that food all the time. It's not going to help you feel better. It doesn't fix anything. So it helps to understand where you feel most comfortable. And the term is grounding, but that doesn't mean it has to be in the earth. Like, you go into it with awareness. Because some people respond instinctually, because you kind of crave the thing that you need, but the fact that you go into it with awareness, that's wonderful. And I know a few people that are very strong, have very strong connections to the beach, specifically, and the ocean. I am a water girl, at heart. I connect very strongly with water. So simply as like when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, when I feel like there's messages coming and they're not quite ready, and I need to like prepare and get into that state where I can receive what I need to know, I take a shower, breathe in the shower, and it helps me connect, shed, ground, do whatever I need to do. So and rivers, I absolutely adore rivers. So the way you feel about the ocean, that's the way I feel about the river. I go into a river and I'm perfect. There are times that I'm like, can I just stand in this river? Because I can't deal with y'all. I'm just going to stay right here for everybody's well-being. How are we doing so far? Everybody's good? Am I making sense-ish? We're good? Okay. a little bit more on physical activities when it comes to grounding. Eating is awesome. And it doesn't have to be a lot. And if you don't have a lot of food around you, salt works too. Just take a pinch of salt and put it in your mouth, and it's a good place to start. I've done that more than once. And that's helpful if that's what you have around. And moving around, physical activity, sometimes you just need to run or walk. That's another thing that I used to do a lot, especially when I was younger, is sometimes I just needed to walk because I felt overwhelmed with people's feelings, and I didn't really understand when I was in middle school and high school, when I really didn't understand that I was an empath. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I was just overwhelmed and cranky and exhausted and agitated all at the same time, and all these teenagers and their creepy hormones and all this stuff going on, and I couldn't handle it. I would just walk. I just put on my headphones and walk, and that physical shedding of all that extra stuff that I was picking up was very helpful for me. Well, because I feel that there's a part of it where we kind of, feel compelled to do the things that help us, but we don't always know why. Like you're saying, you're trying to do something, but even if you don't know exactly how, you feel that need to do something. So on to shielding. Shielding is very fun. I think we could do one workshop just on shielding. So what do we mean when we talk about shielding? I think of shielding in terms of what creates a boundary between ourselves, our own complete person, and anything else around us. It's as simple as wearing clothes to protect us against any kind of inclement weather. You wear a raincoat when it's raining, or you carry an umbrella, right? That's a form of a shield. We wear shoes on our feet to protect our feet, right? It's if you think of it in terms of that simply and that necessary, I think it will help get you into the habit of knowing that, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. A very dear friend attended the workshop the last time I did this, and he was kind of like, I didn't understand that shield wasn't on or off, that there are levels of shielding. And I'm like, yeah, there are levels of shielding. It's not, I don't have to wear a parka when it's 80 degrees, but I definitely want to at least wear something because I don't want to get sunburned.
It's layers.
Right. I might wear sandals instead of boots, but I'm still wearing something on my feet because I don't want to tear my feet up. So you can have different layers and levels of shielding. There are times when you definitely want to have every shield you own, boom. And there are other times that no, because you want to have that awareness. You want to have that connection. You want to feel something. You just don't want everything to influence and affect you. Does that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. Are we good? So it comes with practice, although for some people, shields are instinctual. Yes. And that's a wonderful thing that you point that out, because I find that especially shielding lends itself very easily to having talismans and having symbols and having things along those lines that help with shielding. To me, that's one that's really helpful. I have a list of stones that help with this kind of stuff too that I'll share with you a little bit later. So how do y'all feel about shielding? How's everybody with shielding? You haven't done it? Okay.
Can you make
more.
it two-way? Sorta, like you talked about layers,
Yes.
but can you make it where some things get through and some things don't?
Absolutely. So I'm going to share with you some concepts and some imagery that I've come across, that I've seen other people use, and stuff that people have shared with me about shielding. So I have a very good friend that she's like a hedgehog. And that's one of the images that she uses. She's very cool. Her name's Morgan Daimler. And the first time I did this workshop ever, it was actually a sort of a panel. It was M, and M. It was Morgan, Mel, and Myra. And the three of us come at it from different, totally different. I'm like the wild one. I'm a little bit unorthodox. Morgan comes from a different tradition, from Irish backgrounds and Druidic kind of traditions, and Mel is a heathen through and through. So we come at it differently, and so it was really a great learning experience for me, because we could kind of bring our different perspectives into this. one of the things that you're referring to, one way I've seen that done is the idea of like a screen, right? The idea of like a screened-in porch, where it lets things in and lets things out. There's also kind of like a coffee filter, you know, if you want to make it more fine-tuned. There are people that use an egg, right? That's kind of a permeable egg, so you can allow things in and out. Then there are people that use walls, different types of walls, different layers of walls. And armor is another thing, like physical armor. You know, you can kind of set those triggers for yourself. Armor up, and you see it happen almost like Transformers, like boom, boom, boom. Things come into place, right? One of my favorites, what I do most often is I'm like smoke, right? Nothing sticks to me. I come and go wherever I want. I can move my energy and flow it wherever I want, and nothing touches me. That's what I like because it makes sense to me. And because of the work that I do, I don't ever want to lose my ability to connect and to listen, because I've had to block myself out completely when I was younger. I had no choice. And I actively shut things out because I think it's rude to be up in people's business, even to tune out other people and tune out other things, because I don't want to, because I think it's bad manners and it's rude, and I don't need to know everybody's business all the time. But it's a matter also, to me, shields are incredibly personal. So it's a matter of finding what comfort level you have and what are the things that resonate for you. I am horrible at doing walls because that's not my nature. I'm not a natural wall person, although people will tell me many times that I'm very healed and it's hard for them to read me. This came from years of building these walls. Something else is that through experience and practice, once you develop these techniques, you'll find that in an emergency situation, they can be automatically triggered before you even know what happened, right? You can walk into a situation and you're like, holy crap, my armor's up, what happened? And then you're like, oh, that person happened, right? Or it's creepy in here. So you've developed a sensitivity, and this just happens over time and over practice. And with listening and awareness, you become aware of the subtleties and the changes that happen within you. You know, it's just like getting your eyes adjusted to the dark. You don't realize it doesn't get brighter. You just get used to it. And so it's just a thing that gradually develops, that you have that awareness and that these things kind of will automatically trigger. I don't know how many of you have had that experience, but your shields will automatically trigger your things. Everything will just kind of, and you don't even, you're like, what? And then you're like, oh, or like something's funny, and you walk in, you're like, what the, you know, I've had those experiences. So I've gone to visit a friend, and we're doing a small, like Date non-pneumonia thing for Hecate, which was super cool. And I had never been to this person's place, and I was just visiting, you know, for a couple of days. And I walk in, and this was not this person's home. It had been their home, and there was like all this stuff back and forth, and there was a relative that had passed in that space before, and the place was just kind of like in flux. So it was like stuff half packed, stuff not, and energetically it felt a little bit funny, but I was like, you know, whatever, I'm here, and I understand they're going through difficult times and they're trying to sort some things out, so we're gonna go do this thing and have a good time. So this person says to me, oh, can you come here? I want to show you something. I'm like, cool. I was like, oh, you're going to show me like some trinket or something. She opens the door to this room, and bright girl over here just walks right into the middle of the room and goes, are you kidding me? What the heck? Everything in me just like shot out. And I'm like, and she heard me from she's in the kitchen and she heard me. Like, that was what my gut reaction was, are you kidding me? I'm surrounded by dead things in this room, and you just like walked me in here, and I didn't know what I was doing, and everything in me went, you know, everything. Like, I was just like, and you know, that wasn't my best move, was to walk right in there like that. I don't know what I was thinking. I know, I just walked right in the middle of it, but everything in me.
What happened?
You laughed because you know exactly what happened. She laughed, she started giggling because she's like, oh, because she heard me in the other room. But it was that quick. The minute I walked in there and I felt everything around me, all of my shields shot out at the same time, and nothing could touch me or get near me. But I was like, okay, well, that was an experience.
Like stuffed animals, that kind of thing?
No, I meant like the dead. I was surrounded by the dead. There was a.
She was still there, and
She was there, you know, and you were there, and you know, and the scarecrow. It was like that. It was, it was like that, and Honey M, and it was everybody. There was a portal in the corner. There was a cemetery 2 blocks down. Everything was walking in there. It was a party. I walked into a party I was not invited to. Hi.
Did you still see how you'd react? Did they
Yes.
want you to do something with it?
I think it was a matter of that they were kind of, I think, a little bit in denial of the gravity of the situation, and was like, oh, I just wanted to see if you felt something. And I'm like, did I feel something? Something.
like, she'll know what this is.
Everything.
Huh?
She'll know what this is.
Right. Yes.
We're not sure, but
I
there
kind of had a
might
feeling
be.
that no, and I'm not that. I mean, I'm a little bit sensitive to that stuff.
There's
but
a
I'm
lot
not,
of people that are totally insensitive,
Right.
like thick as a brick, dense, and it just amazes me how they can just go about their day-to-day lives and not
Blind.
notice.
Blind. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely blind.
So one thing that I do want to mention is the importance of listening to your instincts. Like if you feel your spidey sense tingling and you feel your shields activating and all that kind of stuff, I would strongly suggest that you listen to that. Even if you have to go into a situation, because sometimes there are situations we just can't avoid, right? There are things that we just have to do sometimes. You just have to go into a space. You just have to be there. When those triggers come off in you, don't ignore them. You know, don't minimize them. Because we're talking about training ourselves to be sensitive, and so we have to trust that these things do work, and that the work that we do does manifest in some fashion. And so if you do have to go in those situations, prepare yourself. I know I've walked into situations and I've gone to places that I had to, and I just prepared myself. So I made sure ahead of time, depending on how grave or how potentially, you know, chaotic or dangerous in some fashion the situation was for me, would depend how much preparation I would take, right? Like how far in advance and what levels of shielding I want to bring with me and what levels of things I'm going to do. So it does take a little bit of planning. It's not super difficult, hard stuff, but if we bring our awareness to it, it becomes more effective. It takes less out of us, and it becomes more automatic, which is what we want. We want things to become, you know, kind of automatic. Still going to do it with awareness, still going to do these kind of things, but we want it to become more natural and part of who we are.
And that takes practice.
And that just takes practice. It happens over time, and you don't realize it, how quickly it happens and how completely.
Because we talk about techniques of how to center and how to ground and how to shield, but what is exactly what it feels like when you do it, so that you know that it's happening? Like, if I'm grounded,
let's do it.
What does it feel like that I say, oh, okay, it worked, I'm grounded, or I'm just going through the motions because that's what I'm doing?
Well, that's why I wanted to make
at.
sure that we have time, because like I said, I'm a practical girl, so whatever y'all want to test out, we'll do it. So, you want come to me, or I can come to you. No, because we'll all do it together, but I want you to feel it. Like I want to. No, make yourself however you're comfortable. Come to me, because I want to do it with you so that you can feel it. This is where the energy work comes in. Okay, so we're going to take a breath. Okay, so we're going to take a breath and just bring your awareness to your center. Feel where your edges are and where other edges are. Like where your boundaries are versus other boundaries. Like where you're touching the chair, where the sun's in your face, all these kind of things. Everybody just kind of, you know, feel where your feet are touching the ground. And one of the things that I like to do, too, like we're talking about triggers, is I put my hand on my chest and my heart here, my hand here, and I take a breath, and I say to myself, I say out loud, I am whole unto myself, right? Because it's a reminder. So what that means is twofold. One is everything that's here is mine. And two, everything that's mine is here. There aren't parts of me scattered, right? I'm whole unto myself. All of me is right where it needs to be. It's right here. You feel that difference, right? Kind of like do it with more awareness. right? Okay, so now we're centered. I feel good. Does everybody feel good? Feel centered? So, do you all feel mostly connected with Earth in general? Earth? Okay, have you done the visualization with the tree before? Is it effective?
I think so.
Do you feel like it's effective? Is there something in nature that you connect with better than trees?
Yeah, I'm not a water kind of person.
Right.
I'm more forest.
Okay.
So out in the trees and something like this.
Okay. That's good. Because to me, I find like if we can put ourselves in our natural habitat. I like the tree thing, and I used to do that before I had ever read it. When I would do energy work, I would often do the visualization of being rooted, right, and connected through my feet, bringing that up, and then I would pull the like energy down from the stars, you know, to bring that fire from the stars down into myself and bring them into the center. Take a breath and make them mine. So I integrate it, and then that was where I would pull energy from to do healing work, right? Because I wanted it to be balanced in a sense of, you know, not too much of one or the other, because when it comes to energy work, to me the energy should be neutral because the body knows where it needs to go.
And then that way it doesn't drain you completely.
Oh, I never use my own energy. That's a whole other workshop, but I would never do that. I think that's, aside from it draining you, on an etiquette level, I think it's bad form.
What did you say?
That way it doesn't drain you completely.
Well, it was just like touching upon like doing energy work, but why we don't use our own energy is, aside from it being draining, I personally think it's not cool to put my energy into another person without their permission, because that's kind of rude. Because you inadvertently will pass on whatever is in you. So if you're stressed out about this or something like that, you're kind of, there's no way not to if you're using your own energy to it somehow get touched with your person.
And when you use your own energy, the barrier that dissolves works both ways.
Yes.
So when you're using your own energy, you're picking up their shit.
Yeah,
absolutely. When you're absorbing energy from around you and shooting it through you, you're not giving them yours and you're not taking on theirs.
Right.
So it's really important not to do that.
Right.
Unless it's your own child, in which case, you know.
I'm not going to even knock that because I totally get it. Because that's a very different kind of
It's very mothering to want to take your child's pain away.
I totally understand. So, grounding, how are you feeling about that? Do you feel like a little bit, are you having any struggle with the grounding, or it's just hard to feel it?
I guess I don't know exactly what it feels like to not be grounded.
I think that's the situation. I think what it is that you're naturally very grounded and very centered. And so for you, it's not unusual. So it doesn't feel different. Because I can feel that your energy is not scattered. So to center you, you're centered. Your space is very contained. I can feel it energetically. So this stuff kind of doesn't make it, it's a little bit like abstract because it's not something that you need. Because that's your natural state.
We don't let go of the being in our body much.
Because I could feel it, like your natural state is to be very centered and grounded.
That could be so. I mean, sometimes my thoughts are scattered, but
right.
But I think my energy isn't.
Right, and that's different, and that's a little bit different.
I do think that at different parts, different times of your life, it's different, which is why I'm glad to be here and be reminded of some things, because I have felt scattered the last number of months. So it's good to trigger those particular things back to me, and I think that's probably with all of us.
Well, and you should never stop practicing. This is stuff I do every day. I don't just talk about it. I or like do it once in a while, or where I'm gonna go. I do this stuff every single day. Every single day. I have to.
Do you have any advice on people like me? I'm ADHD, so at least my thoughts are scattered a lot. I can feel like I'm grounded. I sit here and feel everything. But everything moves so fast. Is there a type of shield or something that maybe, I don't know if it's acting against me, you know what I mean?
I think that's something definitely worth exploring. But that's something you're gonna have to like tweak and play with. I would suggest, just because I like stones a lot and I've used them a lot, like fluorite might be something that you want to look into. There's different colors of fluorite, and fluorite is one that I used to use for studying because I hated it. I absolutely with a passion detested studying, and having to write a paper for school was torture. I could listen to anything and memorize and make connections in my head, but when I had to physically put stuff down, I detest it. So I would say try using fluorite and see if that doesn't help you, and then you can always use stones to help build your shields. Mm-hmm. But it's something that's definitely fine-tuned to you, so you're gonna have to kind of practice with it. And that's what I would say is just, and definitely when you do these things, you want to start by yourself, because you want to create that safe space for yourself before you test it out being around people. When it comes to like testing out shielding, I always tell people they should go to the mall, because it's a great place to test things out. It is.
Walmart.
It is.
Oh God, I can't shop at Walmart.
That's beyond advanced. I'm with Walmart.
The mall is a lot toned down. You go to Walmart and OMG.
And you really definitely Walmart at the first of the month.
No, I won't do it. That's beyond advanced. That's beyond my level. I won't.
That's just hell.
I can only do it at like 2 a.m. and then the few crazies I can block out. But yeah. Ooh.
So, when it comes to testing out the shielding, I would suggest going, to a mall, something like that, because I know where the exits are if you have to leave. But you can kind of play with it and see how people react to you, in addition to how you react to them. I know people that are like, they do that wall thing, and people actually like move out of their way. Mm-hmm. I'm not that cool. Ooh. I don't do the wall thing. Yeah. But I can be pretty darn difficult to find. I can bring my print in very small and make it hard for people to see me. I've done that more than once, and I've been like really close to people, and they have no idea where I am. Mm-hmm. Right? And you do, and ultimately, it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves, really. So it's important to do what we need to do to be okay, because it's not, Well, and depending on the level of shielding and depending on what you're carrying with you is how people read you. I've had people read me in very different... I've had people not recognize me outside of ritual. I'm wearing different clothes and I'm in a different... I'm different. I'm completely different. You know what I look like because you've seen me in and out. And you were there when we did the Hecate ritual. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was so fun. I love this. But I've had people not recognize, like, oh wait, was that? No, I'm like, yeah, it was. And they recognize it, and I know. Pretty cool, right?
Context, too.
Yes. But I've had people not recognize me because of, what I'm putting out and what I'm willing to take in. So, huh? All right. Well, we kind of zipped through some things and stuff, but if there are any questions or if you guys want to do any like energy play or anything like that, find me and I'm always down. I love to do that kind of stuff, and you want to like test stuff out with shielding and things, let me know, find me, I'm right around here, and I'm always happy to do that, because I think it's important. It's important to do it in a safe space, to find your boundaries and do these kind of things in a safe environment, because you want to do it when you're safe, so that when you're in an emergency, you're prepared and you're ready to go. So thank you all so much. I hope it wasn't too scattered. Thank you.
And now we'll have a song by Emerald Rose called Wild Mountain Thyme, and it's from their album Celtic Crescent. You can learn more about Emerald Rose and purchase their music at emeraldrose.com. We hope you'll support all the pagan artists who allow us to feature their music on our podcast. Thank you.
The summertime is coming. and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near yon pure crystal fountain, and on it I will grow all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love were to leave me, I would surely find another where the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go?